What's up, everybody? It's Ty with Montana Outlaw BBQ coming at you today with Steak 101. On today's episode, I'm going to show you how to take a basic steak you can pick up at any butcher shop. We're going to put it on a grill you can go to any hardware store and find. We're going to be using just a Weber kettle, cook over charcoal. We're going to use minimal ingredients, short time frame, do it weeknight, do it weekend. For today's cook, we went down to Costco, picked up a 4-pack of New York strip steaks. Let's talk a little bit about why I like New York strip. They're going to be good, fattier cuts. They got a nice rib cut on them. They got good marbling, so compared to like a sirloin, they're going to have, it's going to be a lot more tender, a lot more marbling in this steak. They're nice thick cut, which means I'm going to get a good cook all the way through. I can cook this anywhere from medium rare to medium, depending on how your guests like that cooked. We don't have to season them real heavy because they're going to have a nice beefy flavor. We don't have to let the seasoning sit for a really long time either. So this is a really good cut of steak to cook on any weeknight or on the weekend if you have friends coming over. Okay, so now that we've talked a little bit about our cut of meat, let's talk about the seasoning. We use our beef rub on our steaks. It's high in salt content, it's high in pepper, garlic, all those good things. It's got some smoked paprika in there. It's gonna throw a little color on there for us. But let's talk a little bit about why we want a rub that's high in salt content. When we let that rub sit on there, we're gonna let it sit for 15 to 20 minutes. Salt does a couple of things. Like we've talked about in other videos, it's gonna pull some of that water content that's sitting in this beef out. And so we're gonna concentrate those fatty, beefy flavors in that marbling. The other thing it's gonna do is it's gonna help tenderize the steak a little bit. If you have a steak that's maybe a choice or one that's a little leaner that doesn't have this marbling in there, one of the things you could do is coat the whole thing in salt and kind of tenderize it. You'll wanna rinse that off before you cook it, but it's gonna quick tenderize that a little bit. It's called a salt brine. But for today, we are only gonna be using our beef rub. It's gonna be a really good complement of flavors. It's gonna taste really good on this beef. We're gonna go ahead and apply it. We don't wanna go real thick and heavy. We've talked about our big cuts of meat. You gotta put a lot on there. You gotta have good rest time. These ones, we don't need to go real heavy. So we're just gonna go back and forth and apply it. We still wanna be able to see the marbling in there. And we're gonna take and tap it in. Again, you wanna just go ahead and drive those flavors down in there. And you can see, compared to our big cuts of meat, you can still see the marbling coming through in here, right there. You can still see that steak. So we're flip them over. We're gonna do the same thing again on the other side. Flip and repeat. These are gonna have a good beefy flavor, so we don't wanna overpower that beefy flavor. So as all you do is taste the rub. We're not turning these in for competition. We're cooking these up on a weeknight, so we wanna have just a good steak. Now, I'm gonna flip each one of these up. I'm gonna hit the edges too. Some people out there really enjoy the fat, so we're gonna hit that too. Make sure you get all the sides evenly. Again, not real heavy. That's really all I'm gonna do right there. I'm gonna keep it really simple, really easy on these steaks. You can smell those flavors coming out in it right now. You can see the large chunks of salt in there, the activated charcoal that we got in there, give it that little bit of a smoky flavor naturally. So if you're doing this on a gas grill, you're gonna get smokiness from this rub because of that activated charcoal that's inside of there. 10 to 15 minutes, we're gonna allow this to sit, rest, pull some of that water out, concentrate those fat flavors. So the steaks have been resting now for about 15 minutes. You can see that nice red color that rub put on there, a little bit of how that moisture is pulling out of there. These steaks are good to go ahead and go on the grill. So our next step is we're gonna go ahead and fire up our Weber kettle using Royal Oak charcoal. We're gonna show you how we do 2-zone cooking on a Weber kettle. All right, so you can see our coals now are hot. As we talk about getting these coals nice and hot, we want to do a quick cook on a weeknight. We got a good bed of coals going, really good and hot. We're going to throw some steaks on there. Going to give us a really good sear. What we're going to do is directional or indirectional cooking, 2-zone cooking as I like to call it. So I'm going to pour these coals on half of this Weber kettle. So over here on this half is where I'll have my hot coals. That's going to allow me to put a good sear on the steaks. Once I get that sear I'm looking for, We're gonna move those over here, and then I can finish them off at a cooler temperature. So we're gonna go ahead and dump these coals out. Again, we're going for that 2 zone, so we're gonna pour all those coals over here on one side. Put our grill grates on there. We're gonna use those to set a really nice sear on those steaks. Let that heat up for about 5 minutes. We'll be ready to throw some steaks on. All right, because we're using our grill grates today and we want to get a good sear mark on here, I'm gonna hit them with a quick spritz of vegetable oil. Just like that. We'll flip it over, do the same thing, and then we'll go ahead and get them on the grill. Okay, so we've got our grill hot, we've got our grill grates on, we've got our steaks ready to go. So we want to lay on a really nice little kind of cross pattern. So we're going to lay a couple of steaks on. You can hear that sear. And this is right over top of those coals. We'll throw that back on there. Okay, so we're going to do 1.5 minutes on each side, or 1.5 minutes, and we're gonna rotate it so we can get a good crosshatch on there, and then 1.5 minutes, then we'll flip it and repeat that process. Should leave a really nice grill mark on there. Okay, so we're 1.5 minutes in. You can already smell that steak searing off on there, so we're just gonna rotate. So we're kind of trying to get a crosshatch diamond kind of pattern. Or rotate just like that. We're gonna go another 1.5 minutes. Just like that. We're gonna take and flip these guys right over. See how we did? Oh yeah. We're gonna do the same thing. So 1.5 minutes on here, and we'll rotate and get those, set those marks again. All right, so we've done 1.5 minutes and turned on this side. Now we're gonna move it over here to the indirect side. So we're not right over top of the coals anymore. Now is the time when we're gonna get to do our garlic baste. So we do garlic infused butter on the cooktop. We'll just go ahead and baste that on there. We put the butter on there with the garlic. It's just gonna help it stay nice and moist. It's gonna make it nice and shiny. Salted butter and garlic just kind of enhances those flavors a little bit. So go ahead and cap this back off. We're gonna let this kind of run wide open. So we got our top vent wide open. We got our bottom vent about 3/4 open. We wanna get some good air circulation. So we're gonna let these go for about 2 minutes. Then we're gonna flip them over, hit them with the garlic butter on the other side, and check our internal temp. We've been about 2 minutes on this side, so let's roll them. Let's temp check, hit them with garlic butter. See, nice and juicy. You could throw any herbs in that butter that you wanted. If you wanted some rosemary, tarragon, thyme. Okay, so we're looking to finish these out at about 130 degrees, 135 degrees. So a good thing to do is poke it in all the way through and then kind of pull it out, and that'll give you where your temp's at. And that 122, so we're kind of right in there. So just about another 2 to 3 minutes on this side. These steaks will be done and ready to rest. So we got our steak off. Looking for something in the 130s to 140s. You can see we're right in that range. 135, 136. Now, we want to let that rest for just a couple of minutes. Typically when I get that home, but we're gonna go ahead and get started, get this thing sliced up. So we've let this steak rest for about 5 minutes. You can see, I'm gonna flip it up. You can see the juice is just coming out of that. It's gonna be a nice juicy steak, so let's go ahead and slice it open and see what we got in the center here. We can see that nice, perfect. Medium rare. Let's go ahead and slice a couple slices off. You can see that, to me, maybe a little pink for some people, but let's go ahead and try a piece, see what we got. Yeah, I mean, that quality cut of beef, light beef rub on there, that garlic butter. I mean, it checks all the marks. Folks, this is how I do a steak at home on the weeknight. on a Weber kettle that's very accessible. You can go to your local butcher shop, pick up this cut of meat, try this recipe out. It's great, quick, fast, easy. It'll be the hit of your family will love it. Put it with any size, some roasted potatoes, grilled asparagus. Just an easy weeknight meal. Thank you everybody for tuning in to this edition of Montana Outlaw BBQ Cooking. This was Steak 101. Drop a comment down below for what else you want to see us cook. Easy weeknight meals, how-tos from beginner all the way to expert recipes. We love cooking for you guys. Hit the bell, hit the subscribe button. You don't want to miss anything we're doing on this channel. We got a lot more stuff coming at you. Come back, tune in again. Thanks everybody. This is Ty with Montana Outlaw BBQ. We'll see you next time.